expects, no angelic entity looking at you would expect that you would get so far above human nature that all of you would be masters. That's why we're here. Those guides that you have, that's why they're here, to help you wind the clock. That's why they're here 24/7, because when you don't feel up to it, that's when you can take their hands and feel something that we invite you to feel. Something you think might be esoteric, but it isn't. It's in 3D. In a way of reaching up and taking the hands of your guides to infuse you with peace, with a feeling of safety, with lack of fear. And in the midst of even trial and turmoil, the ability for you to be compassion and kindness is there. That's what makes the difference. So just knowing what you know does not mean you're a lighthouse. Just being an old soul does not mean you're a lighthouse. What it is knowing what to do when it doesn't shine right, or when the clock isn't working well and the weights aren't turning it correctly. That makes the difference. And so we give you these things so that you know that help is always there. You are connected to your soul. That means that all of you are connected to the creative source in a very permanent way that your culture has talked you out of. Let this be the time that you would examine yourself and ask that question. Is it true that I'm connected all the time? Is it true when I don't feel like it, or I don't feel like my light is working, that I can get help? And the answer is yes. Then you start developing the method, and it's not the same for everyone. It just isn't. Every one of you is unique and different. How do you feel when you get that connection? That's different for everyone. There are some now that are so used to that connecting, they can actually describe the chills or whatever it is for them. Others say, well, it happens during my sleep. Others say, I have to stop and be quiet, and then I realize it. And others are so used to having it, they simply turn their heads and wink the right way. And in come the guides, because it's their signal, because it becomes the way of their life. That is a light worker. This particular channel is for those who have difficulty, always being in that joy, in that compassion, in that kindness, because it's not always there, perhaps in your family or the people you're with. And it becomes something you say, well, life beats me up, and it's tough to continue. There are things around me that make me sad, and that makes it hard to be joyful. And I'm telling you, you can create a bubble for yourself that doesn't isolate you from anyone. It isolates you from fear. It isolates you from the dark. It isolates you from heart hurt, if you wish. It's always there. It's an invitation to learn to use it, to take it. It is your birthright. It's why you're here. Did you ever wonder why now? Why are you in the shift? Why are you going through things that are so very different? And the answer is because you signed up for it. You really did. At some level, you knew it was here and coming. And that means that your tool set has also gotten bigger, and it's right next to you. Learn how to use it. You're going to live longer. Because if you are in joy, your body is healthy. If you are in a state of compassion and kindness most of the time, your body doesn't age as much. Disease will not attach itself to someone who is balanced and joyful. Did you know that? It just doesn't like you. There is a dark and light balance of disease. Disease is alive. It has energy. Some even say that certain viruses and bacteria have a consciousness. Now, that's not exactly true, but it does have a sense of what it will work with its host or not. And that's why some people that you know never catch anything. Is that the first time you've heard this? I want you to know there are a lot of things at work here that you were never told. Not every single human being is the same, even though your organs are in the same place. Not every single human being is the same simply because they can count your blood or look in a microscope and see you're the same as the one next to you. Well, you're not. And it ought to give you an idea that you're not, because your consciousness, which is energy, is unique for every single soul. The bodies that you develop, how you think, what you do, all has a place on the planet that is seen by the environment around you. Very interesting when it comes to disease. Dear ones, I want to tell you, consciousness is the key. How many of you, in closing, have known those who are invested in the dark, who are so unaware they pull bad things to them on a daily basis? You'll also know that they don't live that long. How many of you know or have seen a hypochondriac who's so afraid of catching everything out there that eventually they do? Not just one thing, but a cascading events of diseases and troubles and aches and pains, and eventually they die. I just described to you the power of consciousness and the way disease and bad things work. It's almost like you open the door and allow things to come in. People who are victims are this way, who say, only bad things happen to me, not understanding that statement alone goes into the ethers and into the field, and the bad things they're afraid of line up to occur to them. And those who would say, I am on a path of light, a path of health, those who expect those things to happen to them which are beneficial and help them and the others around them and their families, seem to have that and bring it to them. Law of attraction, some have said, it isn't. It's the energy of consciousness. You studied it today. My partner talked about it today. This is what we want you to know in this Lighthouse channel, that the energy of light creates a situation where darkness cannot exist. Maybe it's time to wind that clock a little. I'm crying in love with all of you. And so it is. Hello, I'm Lee Carroll. You know,
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There would be those who would say this, that the transition was too quick, and that all you hear now is what you've been hearing for 5 hours. And they would say that it is the voice of the human being pretending to channel. Now, those exact words we have said many other times. It is those who can see and feel the energy and will know that in this place there is a change, and that the communication is real. Starting from the back of the room forward, the entourage begins its journey until it reaches the stage. I know of some who feel it and some who don't. And we say this, as we've been said before, if you are one who is here in disbelief, this is not a time to convince you. And all we would ask of you is to open your heart and allow for a moment. What if this was real? What if this is real? Would you allow Spirit to touch you and to show you it is? Would that be too much? What have you got to lose? And then there are those who know that this is a time that is exactly as predicted. That what is here is what you think is here. That there is an energy on the other side of the veil, which many of you call God or Spirit, that is a family and connected to you. And this process is a completion of the connection for this time. That this process is one which speaks to many of you at the same time, and this same process is the one that you personally have. And it may not speak to you in these words, in this way, in this language, but it's still the process. Could it be that you are hearing Kryon, a piece of the creative energy which comes to you in your reality through the channel who sits in the chair? And some will believe it and some won't. So this is for those who understand and believe. This is for those who have gathered in this room. A message for all, but specifically for you. Some messages, they contain physics. Some messages, they contain concepts. Some messages are predictions and facts. I present this one for the season. What is the season? They call it the holidays. In linearity, where I am, in the culture that I sit in, it is a pronouncement of faith in the Master of Love. And so it becomes a holiday of love, a time of gift giving, and a time of great stress. I am Kryon, and I want to give you something from my perspective for the holiday. And if I'm going to do it accurately, I'm going to do it in this way. I'm going to represent my partner's case for singularity. Call it an extension of the channels we've been giving for weeks, if you will. I'm going to call it this: promises from a personal God. Oh, human being, there's such a singularity in the way you think. It is your bias. It is the way you are. And every single one of you, including my partner, has it. It is what you are learning to get around. It is what you are learning to circumvent. But how does a human learn to think differently? In your reality, the singularness creates one soul, one human being, one truth, one God, one belief, one way that is right when all the others are not. That is the bias, is it not? And in there is created what we would call rules of men. And the rules of men tell you how it works. And as my partner says, depending upon the box that you go to, the rules change. And I want to give you the truth. From my perspective, I want to eliminate the bias. I want to take you in a circle for a moment and hold hands with you and tell you about a God of promise. In this great shift, in this holiday season, in a time of love, I would like to de-stress this moment. And so I'm going to give you the promises that I've prepared. Oh, it won't take long. But the energy in which this is given is of love so strong that the ages are involved here. And I'm going to present it to my partner in a way he can't miss it. He can't miss it. It'll soar through the Akash, through the creation of the planet before humans ever arrived, giving you the promises of the Creator. So you can sit in the chairs and hear it and decide what it means to you. Promise number one. It's not going to sound like a promise. This is a quantum attribute. It doesn't sound like a promise. It sounds like a statement. It's a promise. And here is the basis of all basis. Truth is love. Now that's a quantum statement for you, for all of that is fraught with pregnant potential for misunderstanding. Truth means so many things to so many people. Love means so many things to so many people. Think of this. The truth of God, the truth of life, the truth of all doctrines on the planet, the truth of the facts is love. And it is the love that God has for humanity and the love that humanity has back for God. This is the cycle which cannot be diminished with intellect. This is the cycle and the truth that cannot be broken. For it's not a straight line, it's a circle, and it always will be. This is discovery. Truth is love. And you can build around it all the paradigms you wish of how things work. You can create steps around it if you choose. You can make doctrines around it if you choose. You can make it your own and exclusive to you if you choose. But you can't break the circle. And you cannot dismiss the intuition of humanity. And that's promise number one. Truth is love. A promise that will never, ever change. If you could surround one word that's an action word around that, I'll give it to you. It's discovery. Can you discover it? Out of the intellect, how do I touch the face of God? What are the processes? There are none. When the mother touches the face of the newborn for the first time, how many steps are there, Mom? How many books did you have to read, Mom? I'll tell you, it was with the heart, was it not? Touch the face of the infant for the first time, right from your womb. Do you remember it? For the first time. That's a promise, you see. Promise number two, your family. The promise is this, that every single human being used to be a piece of God. That's a promise. That's not a fact. It's not a statement. That's a gift I give you. Information. you need to know. The family of God is bigger than you think. The family of God includes your Akashic record. All of the humans you used to be. All the names that are printed in there. All of the soul energies that are a piece and part of the higher self. The one soul that is you. It has been here over and over and over. That's family. Combine it with those in the room and their souls, Akash. Combine it with the God essence. That is family. Why is it a promise, Kryon? What does it mean, a promise? It's a promise that there is purpose here. That you're not bouncing around in a random life with no direction. Now that's your choice, family member. But if you will come into the fold and understand that there's energies surrounding you that are profoundly guide producing with purpose, the first thing that happens is the big aha. I really am part of something. And the second is peace. When there's purpose, there's peace. And that's number 2. Number 3 is difficult for me to give you without the emotion that goes with it. This is a personal God you have. Personal because you are part of it. Personal because it knows your name. Not the human being's name. No. The name of your soul. The name of your life lesson. The name of the quantum you. The name of the light that you are when you're not here. I know who you are. And so does every other piece of creation. Have you ever gazed upon nature in all of its wonder and its beauty? Have you ever sat in a place filled with so much beauty that it just overwhelms your senses and makes you weep? Have you ever had that? If you have, you know that you've just been recognized by every rock and every tree. And the very wind that blows in your face calls your name. Part of creation you are, and you just met yourself. That's why humans cry at beauty. When they stand on the mountaintop and the clouds clear and the sun rises, and they cry. They can't help it. Because the dirt greets them. Snow greets them. The very essence of nature itself sings their name. We know you. That's the promise of personal God. We're not a statue. We're not a doctrine. We're not removed. We're not even in the sky. We're with every heartbeat of the human being. Beautiful it is. And the primary word is discovery. Number 4, we care. Why should God care for human beings? God is so big. Humans are so small. God created the universe. How small must a human being be? How big is your higher self? You have no idea. It is a universal presence that has a name, an identity, and it's not singular. Human being, I cannot tell you, because you cannot fathom the purpose of the higher self. It is part of creation itself. It is the piece of God that is God. It's the part you split off from when you come down to be a human being. It is you in the God suit when you look up at the sky, when you see the Milky Way. It is you in the God suit that is the universe. And it cares about you. It cares enough to know your name. It cares enough that when you make a decision to co-create, when you make a decision to push on that door of knowingness, even to sit and be loved, it's there. You can't break the circle. Oh, you can ignore it. And so many do. As being frivolous. Of not being so or true. But you can't break the circle. Truth is love. Number 5 and number 6 are filled with promise. These are new promises. I would like to give you this information so you know what. Number 5 is this. Deep within your Akash is everything you've ever learned on this planet. And here is the promise that you never move backwards, that everything you've ever learned comes in again. These are new times. In this that you call metaphysics, which is simply the way things work, there is something added, and it is this, that the jar of spirituality that you've learned through life experience over and over is kept from life to life, and the next time you arrive, it is still intact. This is our promise. Dear human being, listen to me, that the next time you arrive on this planet, should you choose to open the jar of your knowledge, out will spill the shaman that you are or used to be, and everything you learned in 2009, 2010, 2011, until the last breath you take. All that is yours, that you call knowledge, enlightenment, comes in again. And you can pick up where you left. How is that for a promise? Free will may not let you want to. And that's free will. But if you want to, you'll remember it. And remembrance is the active word here in this promise. For without knowing the actual facts of who you were, or where you've been, or how you've learned it, out will come spilling the knowledge of the ages. And you will process it and go from there. You never have to learn it again. My promise to you today, it should make you feel pretty good. Because as I sit here and look at this group, every single one of you is coming back. You're not going to miss what you started. You're not going to miss what you started. Number 6, it is new. It is a promise never spoken by Kryon. It is a promise of a new energy and of a quantum awareness. And here it is. Be careful, my partner, how you state this. For let it ring with the truth that is there, and also with the power of the Akashic quantum mind. Humans are becoming more quantum. there is an interface with the Akash going on that I have been talking about now for years. And in these months, I have asked you to mine the Akash. That is, to go and pick up those attributes which are yours, which you've earned in what you call past lives, which we call current life energy, that it literally is part of the soup of who you are. Here is something new. You have a consciousness now, a desire, a passion. And with this comes Akashic choice. For the first time, I am telling you now that you can choose now certain attributes of the Akash when you return. What you have thought of in the past as randomness of the gender that you're going to be, where you're going to live, and more. I'm going to tell you, you have control of it. And with repeated Akashic intent to cement this fully into your dynamic quantumness, you can physically choose what's going to happen the next time around. Listen to me. Are you allied with a partner? And you cannot conceive of being without them? Listen to me. What did I tell you was truth? It's love. Perhaps you're in love so deeply with the one you're with, or going to be with, or have been with. And you want to relive it. You don't want it to stop in this lifetime, and you would love to have it continue the next time around. Perhaps you've lost somebody. Well, you haven't. You have the ability of claiming this Akash. It's a promise. It is new. Even with partnership. And with their permission. And they'll give it to you. The two of you can cement an agreement to meet again. And to continue the love affair. And that's just the beginning. What is your passion? Do you enjoy the gender you are? Then repeat it. Do you like the talents you have? Would you like them to be enhanced? Then claim it. It is the first time we have ever given this information to you. This is power. This is power of a quantum thinker. To look inside the Akash and arrange it for the next time. And the option is there for discovery. And it brings me to the last one. The simplest one. The one that'll never change. A promise. A promise. You're never alone. Stated in the first channel Kryon ever gave over 20 years ago. In private to my partner. These are the words that he heard. I am Kryon of magnetic service. And you are never alone. Because you're not singular. In 3 dimensions, the mirror says you are. If you had a multi-D mirror, you'd see the truth. Pieces and parts of you surround you, guides and helpers, angels. Whatever you call angels, whatever you think they are. They're not even singular. You can't give them names. Go ahead. If it makes you feel good, put skin and wings on them. Put a halo on them, give them a name. That's not who they are. Oh, it's bigger than that. And they're not singular either. And you're never alone. In your darkest moment, you're never alone. I want you to remember this. In your last breath, right before the light comes on, in your last breath, so that there is no fear as you meet the family and you discover everything I have said today is accurate and true. And the operative word is remembrance and love. This is the holiday message. It's a holiday message for everyone, not just to celebrate this holiday. For the truth is that every single day could be like this. Peaceful. Whole. Wise. Without heartache. Without worry. With Akashic knowledge and the promise of the future. This is the message of Kryon for you today. And there will be those who know I'm talking right to them. And one of them is my partner. And so it is.
You cannot see what you cannot see or know what you haven't discovered yet. So you have a reality you don't understand and you make it evil. That is still with you. Can you think out of the box for a moment? You're about to find out. Mainstream is going to know that there are things beyond what you expected. Do not hold on to what you've been taught as the absolute truth of everything forever. Earth sciences are separated from physics. Physics is separated from biology, from medicine. But that is starting to change. Medicine to this day, again, is the default. As complicated, as pristine as you think, even as elegant as you think it is, it's the default. You push this and that, and this chemical does this and that, and indeed it might help the disease, but unfortunately there's something else over here that also gets pushed. It's not a good system, but it's the only one. Until now. Questions have always been asked when you channel. Does the entity being channeled, Kryon, aware enough of where you are, does spirit know what's going on? Or is it a disconnect where somehow you bring in an entity from the other side of the veil and they're in some kind of a bubble, don't know what you are experiencing? This comes from misinformation of how you believe God sees you, or Spirit sees you, or the Creator sees you, whatever name you like to give. The beautiful, magnificent truth, known by God, you are. In a way that you can't truly imagine. Known by God means all the things that you are going through are felt, known. And it's not just the difficulties, dear ones. Spirit is not there to help you through difficulties and then it goes away when you're having fun. Spirit is here to celebrate with you, and you should feel that and know that. When it's time to laugh, do you realize just how healing and relieving that is? And don't you feel the smiling creative energy of Mother, Father with you when you laugh? When you're celebrating something specifically wonderful for you or for others, and you're in that space where you're relaxing, and you're saying, this is a good time. I'm going to remember this time. Spirit is right next to you. So it's not just a fair weather or not fair weather spirit. It's 24/7. And in those times where you are needing help, That's when that outstretched hand is there. If you choose to take it, that's the free will that we speak of all the time. There are so many who have been trained out of it. And that is to say, they have to believe they have to climb stairs or go to a certain place or say certain words or believe certain things before that creator would pay attention. That is completely and totally man-made, dear ones. It comes from your own hierarchical structure of how you would do it, perhaps, or how many officials you'd have to go through in order to talk to the boss, because the boss is protected. That's not the way it is with spirit. There is no hierarchy. That creative source which created the universe, the heavens, all that you see, all that you admire, all the beauty of nature, knows your name. Knows your name. Something is happening on this planet. And we have said this before. We have the opening of enhanced knowledge. The opening of enhanced knowledge. And part of that opening that I want to speak of briefly today would be the acceptance or revelation of multidimensionality. You might even call it the multidimensional effect. I'll start this way. Humanity thinks a certain way, and often it's for protection. It's unconscious, meaning that there are hidden biases, even among those who say they are unbiased. And it happens because of training, or it happens because of those who told you certain things that you respect, perhaps that you even love. And when those certain things might be revealed as slightly different, you do not want to go to the difference at all. You want to stay with what you were told, because to do otherwise almost would be a betrayal. So there are many hidden biases in many areas, especially that of science. I would like to introduce you to the balanced physicist. Those who come out of high physics know right from the beginning that there is so much more that is not being shown yet that must be there, because they see reactions they don't understand. From the beginning, even in the training of physics, they see the double slot experiment with light and realize light can be in two places at once. This is something they learn in their first courses. It opens a door that says you don't know everything, and whatever we teach you is the known. But a good balanced physicist will say there is so much we don't know. They're very interested in the things that they see but cannot explain. And in that, there is the acknowledgement that there is so much more that they don't know. Now this, you might say, is a very good thing, especially for a high science like physics. But even with that attitude, there is something they object on. Don't mess with the laws. In other words, those that they have learned to respect, such as Newton and Kepler, have created certain laws that not only work, but have worked now for decades in some of the most highest science on the planet, such as space exploration. Those laws have allowed you to leave this planet with probes and even land on asteroids. That is Newton, and that is Kepler, and it never changes, and it works. And so if someone comes along and says, well, you know, I've got a different law that would be very different from what Newton said, you would think that a physicist would go, wow, tell me more. They don't. What they do is slam the door. So in one area they're saying, tell me more because we know we don't have all the answers. In the other area they're saying, yes, but there are certain laws that we have been using, so obviously they can't be any different than what we know. This is classic, and this is common. What you're taught in school, physicist, doctor, is then what you carry on to be cognized for life. And that is going to change. My advice to any man or woman of science is this. The laws that you've learned, the things that you know, consider them as the primer. When certain other things are revealed, they do not negate what you've learned. They enhance it. They make it bigger. They make it more profound and more elegant than they were. What if the laws of Newton and Kepler were the basic ones? What if they're simply the default? You study them, you use them. And I have said this before. What if you find out there's something that can alter them? Would you then object? What have you done? Have you changed the law, or have you altered it and made it bigger? Are there discoveries to be made that will take what is known now from Newton and Kepler and then go to the next step, using perhaps multidimensional energies, keeping what you've learned, but then enhancing it to be bigger? You'd think that would be something that every one of science would say, we understand this. But the unconscious biases keep you from going there and saying yes. And that is what we speak of in these moments with you now. 31 years ago, when I came in and started channeling, I presented something that you should know. And I have continued with that up until this point and starting to enhance it. And the teaching is this. You live in a reality that is not real, but you think it is. Real as defined would be an all-encompassing reality that has to include all the dimensions that are, and that then is real. And it has to then include the things you don't know about yet. And those things you don't know about yet are starting to be revealed slowly. And they are. And it mostly has to do with the revelation of other dimensions within every single science. I told you once a statement that got so much pushback from so many people. I said, the rocks are alive. The elements, elementals that live within them, in Gaia itself, in the grid systems that are there, have an actual consciousness that knows you, and you call it Mother Nature. The rocks are alive. And so many would say, well, now you've gone too far, Kryon. They're not alive, obviously. We've tested them. There's nothing in there. And what you've done is to test them with 4D tests. That's all you have. That's all you know. Can you test multiple shades of color with a black and white kit? Well, you do, all the time. And you proudly announce the results of your black and white tests. And you say, no, it cannot be this, and you're testing color. You don't even know it. You cannot see what you cannot see or know what you haven't discovered yet. So when it starts to happen, what do? This is the crux of the new, I would say, debates in science. Not just what is real, but can you indeed start to add onto what has been the Holy Grail, if you want to say, of your particular protocol? Doctor, medical doctor, scientist, physicist, astronomer, Space traveler. Can you think out of the box for a moment? You're about to find out. Mainstream is going to know that there are things beyond what you expected. I'll show you how biased humanity is, because as little as 100 or 200 years ago, things which would show themselves perhaps as being multidimensional would then be labeled as witchcraft. So you have a reality you don't understand and you make it evil. That is still with you, by the way. I won't say much more about that, but that is part of the problem. Is that which is more enhanced and more godly and more divine starting to show itself is so unusual to those who think they know what the love of God looks like that they brand it evil and throw it away, not understanding that they're actually seeing proof of their own magnificence. What a world you live in. Years ago, doctors started to look at, researchers started to look at DNA differently. You know, physics and biology have not necessarily been that which has been studied together. In colleges today, you see that buildings that you study, the protocols, are separated even to this day. Earth sciences are separated from physics. Physics is separated from biology, from medicine. But that is starting to change. Even in some of the descriptions of what people do would give a hint to what their protocols have become. And what I mean by that is you're starting to see an alliance between physics and medicine. And part of that alliance is because of what has been discovered. And here's the big one. Biology has a multi-dimensional component. Years ago, over 30 years ago, that was shown. Light is known as being multidimensional, and that is why it can be in two places at once. And when you have experiments with light and DNA, you start to discover something. That the DNA portions of it react differently to light than anything else and show themselves as being part of a multidimensional scenario and system. Biology has a multidimensional component. How much medicine and those who would teach it will go there? How many professors or doctors will say, tell me more, because this is what we've been waiting for? Medicine to this day, again, is the default. As complicated, as pristine as you think, even as elegant as you think it is, it's the default. You push here and something reacts. And so in order to cure this, you push this and that, and this chemical does this and that. And indeed, it might help the disease, but unfortunately, there's something else over here that also gets pushed. It's not a good system, but it's the only one until now. If you start understanding the multidimensionality of biology, you realize that so much of it has to do with consciousness. How long has homeopathy been with you? Homeopathy, in general, has been dismissed by American medical associations. It doesn't work. It can't work. There's too small parts per million. There can be no reaction, so therefore it's debunked. And yet, for hundreds of years, all through European history, it works. Why would it work? It works because it carries a signal to that which is the multidimensional portions of your body and your DNA and even your blood. It's all there to be seen and worked with. Your innate of your body is a multidimensional process that can be muscle tested, can be talked to with consciousness. All of these things starting to be seen and used and proven and tested. But there's more. What if In that multidimensionality of your DNA, there are imprints that tell a story. And this is where multidimensionality departs completely from anything linear. It's not simply another component. It's not simply another part that's linear. It's expansive. It tells stories. It has patterns. It holds secrets and truths. All multidimensionality is this way. Hard to explain. It's like a library, a template. It tells a story more than just of the cell it's part of. It tells a story more than just perhaps how it reacts to the body. It might tell a story of your lineage, of your magnificence, even your creation. These are the things that will begin in the new Lemuria. And you're going to start seeing them in medicine. The doctor you're about to meet, practicing physician, busy hospital, busy city, has had these revelations. And if you ask him what has happened to your training, he will say, my training was valid. But what I've discovered goes then beyond it. It does not void what I've learned, it enhances it. And I can go from there as a building block that then gets changed, enhanced, it even changes color. And that's a metaphor. These are the things I am telling to you to look for. Men and women of science, can I say this to you? Be open for things you don't expect. There's more here than you know. Do not hold on to what you've been taught as the absolute truth of everything forever. For these things will not be erased or voided or made to be bad. They simply are the building blocks of so much more that you went into the protocol for. You must love it to have studied it for so much. Be open to the rest of the story. And if you are, you'll find yourself right in the middle of it. And that's the beauty of the new Lemuria. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It's a celebration. This time, if you could assign a consciousness to that which you think is Kryon, it's a celebration. It's so difficult to try to tell you that I am not an entity, that I am a piece of the soup of God that comes and inhabits my partner's consciousness with permission for a little while, in order to give you the messages of a new earth. An earth that is starting to shift gradually on its own in a new paradigm of energy that is only just beginning to show itself. It's a celebration. I sit in a room with light workers who are interested in their spiritual part. We're trying to make sense of the puzzle of life every day, each on a unique path, as I've said. And each one has a solution that is different from the other. And it starts to then show what we want to teach. There is no generic pill, dear ones, that everyone takes and that solves a problem. Instead, that there is an overview, a concept, a confluence of ideas that come together that would say that if you trust that part of yourself which you know to be a piece of God, things will fall into place. It couldn't be simpler. And yet it is difficult for a linear human being to do this. For you've lived a lifetime so far. No matter whether you're young or a senior in this room, there's a paradigm of the way things work for you. And you'll go back to that over and over because it's always worked before. And that's why we want to tell you, you've got to start thinking out of that box because that paradigm is moving. And it's going to be more difficult. And one of the hardest paradigms to break is a dysfunctional New Age. And I want to start talking about that. Common sense. There have been light workers who've asked me, when, Kryon, is everyone going to come around to our side? When are they going to wake up and realize that their belief system is wrong and ours is right? And you know that that's not what's going to happen. It makes them no different from the others in a box of their own making, pointing the finger at the other, deciding who is right and who is wrong. I want to tell you the way this is going to work, and it isn't going to work the way you think. The planet is being given different attributes through the grids that have been described today. The planet, through the system of time fractals, is now in a condition that is more conducive to softness than ever before, than to those who don't want war than ever before. And it's an oxymoron because there's more of you on the planet than ever were here before. There's more opportunity for disagreement and war than ever before, and yet the opposite is starting to happen. Eventually, human nature itself will start to shift and change. Now, the old soul is the engine for that. But light workers have this strange idea that everyone's going to come to their side. They're going to wake up to a reality that they have. And that's just not the way of it, dear ones. It's going to be bigger than that. By itself, the planet is going to start to seek a balance of its own. And it's going to start by looking for balance in human beings and being attracted to mature, common sense, balanced ideas. That's the shift. It's the old soul who is the engine of that shift and is the actual one that is the seed planter of it, often working in the background. But you've got to be with it and not apart from it. And that's what I want to talk about. So the point number one, the planet by itself is starting to shift consciousness into a more balanced condition. They're not all going to be who you are or believe what you believe. And that may be news to a whole lot of those who would listen to this channel, that the earth would work in that way. So we're starting to talk about spiritual common sense and your part in it. So let's look at the New Age for a moment and remind you one more time. New Age, the very expression in some countries, means cult. So we often use the word esoterics as well. New Age and esoterics used in the same sentence, sometimes the same way, to mean the same thing. I want to give you a little bit of the history of this belief system which you belong to. It is unique on the planet. There's nothing like it. It is nonlinear. No wonder you like it, because there are no rules. It is the only one without a leader or a prophet. It is the only one without some kind of central guidance book or organization. Have you ever thought of that? And yet there are millions of you all over the world, and if it got you together in a conference, you'd find that you think pretty much alike. Without a book, a prophet, or a doctrine, you have one of your own, and it's extremely similar from human to human. Almost like there was a template someplace that exists with it all. That you are aware of it intuitively and work the template, which is basically that which is spiritual for every human on the planet. And you'd be right. And that is the seed basis behind that which is the esoteric belief system on earth. And what makes it valid is the very fact that without leadership, book, or prophet, there is very, very similar information from group to group, no matter what language is spoken. The seed truth of all of it is that you have connected with the main prophet, which is your higher self. And that connection, as was discussed today, contains the system of the way you should live if you want to have the connection remain. There are no shoulds, there are no rules. There's only completeness, and you seek out balance. And the more balanced you become with these esoteric things like your higher self and soul groups, and whatever else you want to call that is around you, supporting you, the more you balance with it, the longer you live, the healthier you are, the more you understand about your own rich Akashic record of how many times you've been on the planet, what you have done, and what it has meant. It opens an entire world of possibilities for your health, for things to come, for synchronicities that you've asked for. It tests the mettle of your faith. For it is not normal for a human being to stand and expect the unexpected and be comfortable with it and not wring their hands wondering whether it's real or not. It's not normal for a human being to trust the unseen so much that it becomes their reality in a day-by-day walk with what they consider God. It's not necessarily normal for a human being to be single and without a partner and completely and totally satisfied because they are in love with the God within. And if a partner comes along, then it's okay instead of something that needs to be in their life. That's a common sense maturity of falling in love with yourself. That is the higher self in you, which is the essence of the Creator. If you had to give a system for the universe, it's a benevolent system of completion. From physics to biology to spirituality, everything wants to complete itself at a higher level. You might say this attitude of benevolence is biased to the positive, and you'd be right. There's nothing out to get you, human being. But when you have a belief system that is so open, where the rules are etched upon a template you cannot see or read but intuit, it draws in certain kinds of individuals that think they are light workers, and they're not. They're self-workers. And I want to talk about it, and we're going to give a name to it, and it's going to offend every one of them. And that's not what I want to do. I'm not here to hurt hearts. I want to give not names, but I want to give situations, and if your name goes here, you know I'm talking about you. There's basically two kinds of light workers. One is a spinner and one is a worker. You tell me how this fits when I start talking about it. You spin in the drama of conspiracy. And the conspiracies may be absolutely right on, dear one. They could be actual and happening and not your imagination, and you know it and we know it, and you spin in it. You spin in it. And for years you go around and around trying to find out more and more about this in the guise of helping others to know more about it so they can spin too. And the drama just reeks, spins from you, and you splatter it everywhere you walk. Now I want to ask you. You say, well, that's not me. Okay, I want to ask you something, dear one. How many friends have you got? I mean, real friends. When you go to a party, do they avoid you or do they clump around you? And you'll say, well, I don't go to parties, Kryon. And I'm going to say, of course you don't. You're never invited. Because you're a spinner and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. Are you not aware of the people who will come and you talk to you and they walk the other way and you never see them again? What do you think that's about, spinner? And your answer is always the same. I have my truth, and my truth is my truth, and this is what this is my work on the planet. And I want to tell you, that is old work. And it's not working. Because the real work, dear one, is to fit in and have the love of God seen in your life and not the drama of what you think is important. You're interested in this, you're interested in that, to the degree that you have cast out any sense of balance that you could possibly show. Some of you are recluses because nobody wants to be around you and nobody wants to partner with you. And you have justified this whole thing saying, yes, but I have inside me knowledge that the universe has given me and only me, and here it goes, and here it goes, and here it goes. That's your free choice. And if you want to sit there and spin, you can. But that spin is old. And it's not going to get any better and not going to have any new friends, and you probably will never get a partner. I want to give you the antithesis of that. I want to show you where this is going. Light worker. You have some of the same attributes, even the ones who sit here, because you have ostracized the people around you because of your belief, and you know that. And whose fault is that? Well, there's no fault. We're not in judgment. We're just talking about energy not matching. Are you following this? You're going to move from an energy where you hold your truth no matter what to an energy where you start looking at people differently and acting differently, and you never have to give away your truth, ever, ever. You never have to tell anybody what you believe, ever. You can mingle with the human beings that you believe that will never be interested in anything that you're doing or might walk the other way. We talked about this even the other day. And all you're going to see is the good things in them. You're not going to look at them as the opposition. You're going to start first with your family. How do you like that? That's going to be your testing ground. I know who's here. What if they could see in you a difference? Children will see it right away, by the way. You're going to soften and look for the things that are positive and you have in common with your family that you can talk about and get them to relax with the fact that you're okay. I don't want you ever to preach to them again, ever. Hear me? That is old. I don't want you to even tell them what you believe. That's old. I want you to show them who you are by the love of God in you. It's time for show and not tell. And that is a new paradigm. How you act. And you're going to be aware of the test by how many you collect around you who you never had before, who see balance in you. Every master who walked the earth collected those of not like mind, but ones who were attracted to balance. That's who you are.
you have this ability. You show somebody love and kindness, they're going to act differently to you. You show somebody your truth, and they're going to walk away. So it's time to relax. Your truth is your truth, and you have taken it in, and you can work on it all you want to, but it's time to join the planet in love. And spend time with those who you would not normally spend time. Schedule a time with somebody in your family who doesn't like you. And see what you got in common. Maybe you can forgive each other for things you never did. Do you see what this is? You're going to soften. Soften to the things that you never thought you'd soften to. You don't have to pretend to be anything else except a master. Patient, kind. Disengage your buttons. Let them yell at you or say things. Disengage your buttons and don't fight back. Have you heard that before? Don't fight back. Love them. Pretty soon they run out of ammunition. There's nothing they can say when there's no reaction. And you can look them in the eye. And you can say, I love you. No matter what, I love you. And watch their heart soften and all the things that they'd ever said go away and meld into nothingness. And there comes a commonality that both of you see the God in each other, and that's the way it is. Huh? And the spinner, you're going to have to go a long way to drop the paradigms that you have depended on all of these years. Kryon, am I going to have to drop the conspiracy stuff? You can hold on it if you want to, but it's going to have to be private, and you can't share it with a soul. You could do more with energetics around this than you can with your mouth. You understand that? If you see something inappropriate and you know it's inappropriate and you feel it's a conspiracy against the planet or you or anything else, even with the government, you can do far more because you got the connection to spirit to work on it in the ethers. You verbalize it, nobody wants to be with you. How is that helping the planet? I'm not here to hurt a heart. But maybe you're seeing some things in yourself you didn't see before, and it's time to change the paradigm. It's time for you to gather the mastery around you. How much do you talk about yourself? Stop it. You don't even know it. Sometimes that's simply a defense so that people won't ask you what you're into. And you meet them and you have to tell them what you're doing and what's going on and what you're doing and what's going on and what you're doing and what's going on. And all of that is so they'll never ask, well, what do you believe? Because if you're always pushing, you never have to listen, you see. And it doesn't take much of that before they will walk the other way. Learn how to address the questions of what are you into. So it is a statement of balance and not one of affront. If you believe it's going to offend their belief system, keep quiet. It doesn't reduce your magnificence. Do you understand that? For you to be quiet. It doesn't reduce your magnificence to listen to them tell you things that you don't believe in while you look at them and see the things you might have in common, so that you could be together with them and not have a problem. It's a new paradigm. Some of these things may sound familiar to you because the masters told you all of them. The principles never change. What has changed is the soup you sit in, called reality. You now have the ability to do these things, and you will be supported. And you're going to start finding that they work. And it's going to shock and surprise you because you didn't think so. You'll go on to teach your children, your grandchildren, the same thing on the schoolyard and ask them to do certain things and watch the bullies change. To disengage the hate or the anger, or simply the juveniles who will do things that juveniles do. When they're faced with maturity and balance, they won't do them. Interesting how things are going to start to change. So the old soul is the catalyst for the earth to start to soften in this way. But if you sit and do what you've always done, and you sequester yourself because you're different, they'll never know you. And they'll never know the God in you. Could it be any clearer? I want you to go from this place thinking about what you can do that's different than what you have been doing. Knowing that whatever you decide intuitively will be correct for you and you'll have support. We are here. Our hand is out like never before for you to take and walk through these issues. You do the hard ones first. Everything else is going to be easy. That's the message for this day, for all of those listening, reading in this room. It's a beautiful message, is it not? That the earth would be balancing in a way that you had to adjust to it as well. It's time to come out of the closet. And so it is.
I invite you to place a hand on your heart and close your eyes. And just allow a few moments for your breathing to soften. Taking in a breath through the nose, releasing it softly through your mouth. And as your body starts to relax, your breathing deepens, you can gently place your hand in your lap. You've given a beautiful signal to your body that you are in a safe place. And in this beautiful, safe place, let us now welcome in the message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The channel is basic, but it's something you need to hear, and you need to hear it often, all of you. How many of you feel isolated? Isolated perhaps in a way that is beyond that which simply is a human in your body, in your civilization, in your society. How many of you feel isolated perhaps from everything that's happening? I want to give you some perspective. That isolation is a result, dear ones, from what you've been told. That you feel perhaps that you're not included in some way. There have been many, millions, over these many hundreds of years that have been given information in a profound way that sticks in your psyche. You grow up being told things and they stick, and they can't unstick, and you can't unknow them. And most of you have grown up feeling that you are isolated from that which is the Creator. This creative source which we talk about, which made the heavens and the earth, and the source did. That in the process of making the heavens and the earth, I've told you, that souls always existed. They were not created separately. Now, this is very difficult for some of you to understand. You'll say, well, didn't that happen in the Garden of Eden when God put us here? No, dear ones, that did not. That's another story. But that particular story is when you got your soul. When the human race itself got that soul, which is eternal. That soul existed, always did.
That soul existed before there was time. If I said it always was and always will be, you have trouble with that, just in general. Humans in general look at everything linearly. Everything must have a start, a beginning, everything. And everything that you look at is as simple as a piece of string. It has a beginning and an end. It has to. And the string has a length. It has to. That's the 3D of you. But if we say to you, in a multidimensional world, when you speak of the things of God, that there is no beginning, how does that make you feel? You'll say, well, I can't really get a grasp on that. You're right, you cannot. But assume that it's correct, and assume this, that this Creator who created the heavens and the earth had a situation, if you want to call it, where you were part of it. You were there at the soul level. What if souls were part of God? What if the creative source itself is a collection of souls, as well as the beauty and the power and the splendor of the creative source itself? What if it's a system of love that's always been? If you're feeling isolated or perhaps small, or you think that there's a separation between you and God, I want to put this in perspective. I'm going to give you a truth now that is beyond anything that you were ever given by any doctrine on the planet. Are you ready? When things were void and there was no universe, and God created that which was the universe, and God created that which is the galaxies and all the parts, and the incredible amount of time that it took, and when God created your sun, and then when God created your earth, in the Genesis area that you read about and you think about, what I want to tell you is you were there. All of you were there, and you watched it. You saw the majesty of it, the beauty of it. You saw the earth being molded for you. You knew that you would come into this place with a test of light and dark. You knew what you would go through. But more than that, you saw it going on all through the galaxies, all through this one. And long before this earth was ready for you, you were participating in that, many of you, in other planets, in other areas. How does that make you feel? I want to tell you how big you are. Enormous. And I don't mean your size. I mean your lineage, your history, your beauty, your splendor. Your soul is magnificent, and so are you. And so all of these things, you were there. The story of the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve, is a metaphor, dear ones. It's not that far off. That scripture has some actual meaning and truth, because so many times the ancient scriptures, no matter where they are, of the beginnings of things, have elements of truth to them that stick. But most of them are metaphoric. And so when you hear about that which is the Garden of Eden, that's the planet, of course. You hear about Adam and Eve, that's all men and all women, of course. That's the metaphor. And you hear that an angel came down and imbued both of them, or all men and women, with something they never had before. It was time for them to receive their soul. The divinity then became something that was part of you. And even your DNA changed at that moment in time. That's when you got your soul. You were standing in line for that one, dear ones. You were there. All of you were there. Not just a few. Not just a few that came to earth. All of you were there. Looking in, looking down, if you wish to say, watching the process until it was your turn. to come into this planet at whatever time it was to come in. So many of you that I'm talking to are what I would call old souls. I'll say it again, this is a school. The more lifetimes you've had on this planet, the more experience you've had. And it's cumulative, and you remember enough of it from lifetime to lifetime that you start understanding how things work. One of the things that carries over from life to life is your spirituality. Those of you who are shamanic, who asked the right questions, who learned about the energies and all the things you talk about today, that stuck. It was inside your DNA, inside your memories, at the cave of creation. What I'm saying is, you pick it up when you come in your next lifetime, and you carry it. Your search for God is innate. It's intuitive. And those of you who did it lifetime after lifetime, you come in and do it again. That sticks. The wisdom that you've learned for certain things, that also sticks. Dear ones, we've told you some amazing differences in this new energy, especially what you carry in with you, and one of them is a new tool. That those who will come in now and those of you leaving and coming in again will never have to learn the things you've learned this lifetime in any form. It all sticks. That's new. That's a new paradigm. That's a new energy. That's what the new magnetics of your earth are about. All of that. So that you're going to have more light in the future than you've ever had on this planet. That's where this is going. But in all of these things, I tell you, you were there. You are not disconnected from any of these processes. Part of the issue and the plan, the system, you come into the planet and much is hidden. We have even given many channels about the hidden things, if you recall. And part of that is who you are. But I'm here to tell you who you are. The magnificence goes beyond anything you can imagine. I'm telling you. You saw it all. You saw it all. You are ageless. When you leave this place and go back to that soul level, you will continue forever. There is no end to your existence. There was no beginning at the soul level. And that soul level is becoming more and more available for you to touch. Over a year ago, I told my partner to create the Circle of 12, the beginning of touching your soul. And that within that, there could be miraculous healing of all kinds. Healings of the fear, perhaps, that you have today, of the uncertainty. Not just of your body. To have peace where there is no peace, that is a major healing, dear ones. To have joy when you haven't had joy, no reason to have joy, that's a major healing. It's not just corporeal things. It's about you realizing your profundity on the planet. You were there. You were all there. Bigger than you think, more included than you think, with guides and angels and an entourage around you everywhere you walk, waiting for you to acknowledge them or know that they're there, or be more aware and more informed about actually who you are. It is a spectacular truth, dear ones, and you were there, all of that. How can you be more aware of this, you might say? How can I feel more included, you might say? Why don't you ask for it? Dear Spirit, you might say, help me to understand and feel who I am and the lineage that I carry of humanity. Help me to have peace over these things and know that I'm included and loved dearly. Help me to feel the entourage with me all the time and relax over the things that I am not relaxing about. Help me to understand my eternalness
and the light that I carry for the earth. That's a good place to start. You're asking for things that are willingly going to be given to you. We've been waiting for a lot of you to ask. And that's the truth of the day. That's the biggest truth I could give you today. You were there for all of it. I'm crying in love with humanity. And now you know why. There's a lot to love. And so it is.